Hey guys, what's going on? Today we are going to be going over the deck that got me first day infinite in the Avengers versus X-Men season in Marvel Snap, and it highlights actually two of the newest cards to the game, Pixie and the season pass card, Hope Summers. And while I don't think Pixie is necessarily the most competitively viable card out there, she's extremely fun, and there's a ton of crazy combinations you're going to see out there that you're not going to be able to predict and prepare for. And Hope Summers, on the other hand, is probably going to be a very strong card for the foreseeable future. You're going to see a lot of the bounce type archetype with her really taking over and controlling the meta. But I wanted to bring you guys a deck that is focusing on aspects that you're not seeing a ton out there, and I really wanted to bring everybody's favorite card, Galactus, back into the fold a little bit. There's a ton of unpredictability in this deck because of how you're playing. You can either play the controlling high Evo style, or you can ramp into your Galactus potentially early with a Pixie, or even by hopping up on your Hope Summers lane and getting that Galactus out early and completely surprising your target. So this deck is going to steal you cubes, and it's winning at over 65% rate, which is an extremely good rate for any Galactus-based deck. And as I do in all my videos, we're going to break down this deck into our must-haves and our flex cards, and then follow up with some infinite and high-level gameplay for you. And without any further ado, let us get into the Planet Dust deck. And first up in our must-haves, we have Wasp, and the reason we have Wasp, obviously, is we are running in a high evolutionary list, and the idea around the creation of this list was to have at least one card with a 0 cost that could potentially be a great Pixie target and hit one of our expensive cards in our deck and make it become 0, obviously. And I figured building it within the high evolutionary archetype would allow for a 0 cost card that actually has other value as well to be into the list, so that is why I have Wasp in there as a must-have. And Sunspot's in here as a must-have, but truly he could probably fall into the flex position, really depending on how aggressive you want to play in this list, or if you're leaning more towards the high evolutionary aspect versus the Galactus type list. But he's great obviously in this type of list because, one, he's a lower cost card, so if he's stuck in your deck with your Pixie, potentially your 6 cost hits a 1 cost, and that's a win for you. But also, if you get him out early, there are going to be a lot of turns when you're skipping and saving up energy, when you have other cards in your list that want you to skip and be inefficient with your energy, and your Sunspot is going to be able to ramp up and help you get priority that you may need for your Galactus or your Eliath, or just help you win the lanes. And our next card up is the newest card into the game, Pixie. She's the 2/1 that swaps everything in your deck, and she's really what makes this deck really fun. Obviously, you could just play the standard high Evo list without her and kind of do your own thing. But she has really brought a lot of value into this game, but getting larger cards out earlier, save like Lockjaw or Jubilee, and she can really create combinations that are unexpected and unseen before in Marvel Snap, so that's why she's probably in the must-have category in this list for me. And she works extremely well with Galactus, obviously, in terms of the element of surprise, because this list is not necessarily something you'd expect to see a Galactus out there when you're climbing and playing a lot of Marvel Snap, but there's a chance all of a sudden you have a 0 mana Galactus and you can just get him out on turn 3 even, potentially, if you draw him immediately, and your opponent's not going to know what to do, and you kind of have a few other cards in your list built around winning the lane if you have the Galactus out. And even if you don't necessarily get your Galactus out, all of a sudden you could have a 1 cost Hulk who is 18 power because you've skipped energy on turns. She creates immense plays and immense power, a definite must-have in some cool combo decks out there today. And next up is the new season pass card, Hope Summers. She's definitely a must-have in this list. I originally wasn't playing her as much in this list because I was really trying to focus on the Pixie combinations, but she really allowed for consistency in getting your Galactus out for the surprise Galactus, because there's a lot of times when you had Galactus in your opening hand, or there are quite a few 6-drops, so maybe your Galactus hits another 6-drop on your Pixie swing. So with Hope in there on turn 3, putting her onto turn 4 onto something else, there's a good chance you're going to have priority based on what you've played already in the game, and you're going to have a potential Galactus on turn 5, which sets up beautifully for Eliath on turn 6, or a big Hulk and a She-Hulk on turn 6. So I had Hope Summers as more of a flex option before, but she really brought it into the more consistent Galactus plays to help the win rate of this deck climb significantly. And I like that this is kind of a different type of list for her. She's obviously crazy in the bounce type list right now, and she's going to be way more powerful and consistent of a card than Pixie in the overall grand scheme of things. And this being a high evolutionary based list, obviously he is a must-have. He's not really in there for anything other than the fact that he's triggering your other cards to have more value, like your Hulk and your Wasp. And you have options like having your Cyclops or your Shocker in your list to really get things moving differently, helping you create priority earlier in the game if you're going to try to get your Galactus out, or strategically play out to get a big Hulk out and win a lane at the end of turn 6. And because we are playing the Galactus focused ramp style Pixie lottery roll type list, I have Alioth as a must-have, because if you're not really playing a turn 6 play Galactus list, you kind of really need to have Alioth in there for a turn 6 play to follow up a turn 5 Galactus, so he really helps solidify and win you the game. So you just need to be strategic when you're snapping and making sure you're getting those cubes out. But obviously, if you get your Galactus out properly and have Alioth in your hand for turn 6, whether he's been pixied or not, you're gonna win the game. And you've heard me talk about him a ton already, but Galactus is an obvious must-have in this list because I am trying to bring back the big bad, make your credits worth the 6,000 that he is, and make him more viable. And there's a lot in this deck that lets him have a huge element of surprise, because he does look like you're playing a high evo list completely, and then all of a sudden you can get out a Galactus on turn 3, even if with Pixie, and you can consistently get him out on turn 5 though with Hope Summers, and you usually have priority. So he's been pretty strong and helps you steal cubes and win games in this list. And I have She-Hulk as a must-have because she fits extremely well into a lot of the high evo based lists. There's going to be a lot of times that you're not doing as much, and you're going to be gaining energy for your Sunspot, and you're going to be able to get your She-Hulk out for cheaper and help you win priority if you need to. She also, if she gets hit by Pixie and hits one of your other cards, there's a lot of times that you're not really going to have to do much for her to just be a free 0/10 even before turn 6. So she's going to get a lot of value very fast and easily in this deck. So I found a lot of success with her in the list. And our final must-have is the Hulk. He is obviously one of the cards that high evo can target and change and make into a pretty valuable card that can ramp up significantly. In this list, he can get up to a 620 pretty easily. And obviously, if you get him hit with Pixie, he's a great target to go into other lanes. And if you can't go the Galactus route, he's a great alternative to have in your hand to really solidify and win out lanes that you were pretty far behind on in total power. And moving on to the flex cards, we really have quite a few options here. There's kind of a lot you can do with this list, kind of really depending on what you want to tailor it to. And you could even cut the Galactus out and really run a high evo based list, and that is like the true to heart Infinite style list, and you're gonna have success. So I have the Infinite in here as a potential flex card. You can honestly even potentially flex him out for She-Hulk if you wanted to, and there's a chance he's gonna be played less consistently, obviously, but if you hit him with Pixie, he's gonna have a chance to come out really cheap and easy. So I had to keep him in there as a potential flex for you. And I have Misty Knight as a flex card in there because obviously she's one of the cards that gets the benefit of high evo, and I like to have her in the list for me because she's easy to get out, she's low cost, so if she's stuck in your deck, she's a great card for Pixie to hit and swap potentially with one of your 6 energy cards. And if not, and you have her out early enough, she can really help you get your priority you need to potentially have your Galactus plays or Alioth. And I have Shocker in there as a flex card as well because he obviously, as well as Misty Knight, is another high evo card that can get a beneficial ability, and he's just good to have in there to help early game priority. And if you have a bad opening hand and you have like your Alioth or Galactus or your Hulk in your opening hand all the way to the left, he can help get that cost reduction down that you didn't get from your Pixie and get you doing some plays that your opponent may not expect still. And of all the cards in the high evo world that I have in the flex position, Cyclops is probably the one that's most borderline as a must-have. He just has tremendous value in lane pressure when you put him down and can help have the priority you need to help get that early Galactus off easily, or lock down a lane with a bunch of power to get that Hulk out later and surprise your opponent for a 20 bomb and win the game. So he's pretty strong and consistent at all times in a high evo deck. The only reason I don't have him as a must-have is because there's a ton of times you're really just using him as fodder to get your early Galactus out there, so you could be throwing in other cards in his position if you really wanted to, if you're focusing on the Galactus aspect of this list. And our final flex card is going to be Shang-Chi, and he is in this list strictly because of the fact you need to have alternative options if you're not getting that Galactus off and you're really more leaning towards the Hulk line of the standard high evo skipping turns path to victory. You have to have something out there that's going to be able to destroy, that's not Goliath, and help bring back the power down on your opponent's side and win the game. So he does that, obviously extremely effective. And on the off chance you have priority on the Galactus lane and your opponent plays a larger minion there, afterwards you have your Shang-Chi as an option to get rid of it, to still give you a chance to win that lane, and you can kind of work your way around not being able to Goliath and win the game. So guys, that was a quick overview and breakdown of the Planet Dust deck, and like I was saying earlier, it's winning at over a 65% clip right now, and it's really a great Galactus list out there in terms of potential ways to get your Galactus out, and just a more consistent win rate that you're not going to really find in Galactus type lists. And I want to remind you guys, there's still over 95% of you who are watching this channel's content who are not subscribed. If you could just hit that button, it would really help me out a ton. Like, comment, all that. But with that being said, let us get into our infinite and high level gameplay for you guys. And first up we have Dababu. It's a very nice infinity avatar. +1 energy with Pixie in our opening hand. That's a good sign. Good chance we're going to be able to get a cheap Galactus or Hulk. Collapse mine is fine here. We're just going to pass. And our She-Hulk being 6 energy means traded with our Galactus or our Hulk or Goliath. He passes. Unfortunately, it looks like our Galactus also hit another 6 drop, but not the end of the world. And a hope here left. And we drew 3/6 costs in a row. What are the odds? Now, unfortunately, now we're in a bit of a predicament because there is nothing we can do to get out our Galactus next turn. You could get really greedy and play Shang-Chi and the Wasp. That just is not a good play, so it's gonna be a pass here. He's playing a Wong-based list. Not so bad for us. Just throw She-Hulk down middle here, see what he's got. He's jubileeing into Wong. And that's not terrible. We will... Yeah, he doesn't want to play. That's a victory. And next we have Eggs Benedict. We got that opening hand Sunspot, which you always like to see. And he got a Nico Manuro in his hand. Let's see what he stole from us. And I don't really want to replace location, so we're just going to pass here. Nico Nightcrawler, not great. It's going to be hard for us to win priority here, so we're going to be going the high Evo route, especially now with the Altar of Death. We're in pretty dire straits. I'll play Nico here, gain some energy, be energy inefficient. All right. Not an exactly clean turn here for us, no matter what we choose. I don't really see any value in us doing anything besides getting the Hulk out. And we have 2. And now we'll go ahead and play Cyclops and Misty Knight. Should get some extra energy for our turn 6 play here. Have the potential to Goliath or Hulk, whatever is going to be our better play, depending on what he does here. Don't have any way for us to win the altar, so we are going to have to play those left 2 lanes here. And he throws a Wasp down into an Iron Man. We do have priority, which is huge for us. We need this lane, and there's not much we can do. So we just lose. We lose to Shang-Chi, obviously, but other than that, we should be okay. Goliath into the left lane. Yep, and he's out of there. And finally, we have Mario Verde 13. Lemuria to start, so we have no idea what he's playing right now. Well, we do. He's playing a Thanos list, so it is going to be hard for us to keep priority, but not the end of the world. And we're going to play our Misty Knight here into Hotel Inferno for most value. Get rid of his Reality Stone, which is fine. And he hit our Cyclops, which is pretty bad for us, honestly. Now we do have Galactus in our hand, so if we can somehow keep up a priority here, which unfortunately is unlikely in this against this list, we could sneak out a Galactus here. He's got a Time Stone. Love to draw something to play on the Hulk, on the Hotel, and we don't draw anything, and we are not gonna we can't play Shang-Chi into that because we know he's gonna have some big stuff. And he Iron Hearts. We can play She-Hulk here. Play Pixie in our Danger Room. Maybe we'll get a little Pixie value at the end here, but very unlikely. Actually, a good thing we Pixied, because he just doesn't win it for free now. He's gotta do something now. So, not terrible. We got a 0 mana Sunspot. I'm going to play Hulk and Sunspot middle. Hopefully that'll be enough for us to win the middle and the left. And he focuses on trying to win the right here with a Jeff or something. Let's see. Valkyrie. That's going to be unfortunate for us. Yeah, I think we eked out the power difference there, so that's another victory. So guys, that was the Planet Dust deck, some high-level gameplay breakdown. Let me know what you think of it. It's winning at a pretty good clip, especially for a list that has Galactus in it. So remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.